What's up guys, Kieran here, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a new video. So it's time for some more mods for the C43. So in today's video, we're going to be installing some lowering springs. So right here, we have a set of H&R lowering springs, front and rear. So as you can see, pretty nice, pretty blue. So that's what we're going to be installing today. So let's get these wheels off and let's get these springs on. So obviously to start, we've got to take the wheels off. So we're going to start with the fronts and then move on to the rears. So we're going to get the car in the air, take the wheel off, and then I'm going to sort of explain what you have to do to fit them and then just sort of do a time lapse of me fitting each one. This is actually my first set of lowering springs that I'm going to have installed, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see how it goes. Okay, so one thing that I would like to do is just quickly measure the gap between the wheel and the arch. So let's go ahead and do it. So from the edge of the tyre wall, it is, actually let's just do it from the bottom of the rim. So against the bottom, it is just shy of 10 centimeters. So after we've lowered both sides, let's see what it is. Okay, so with the first wheel off, there's a couple bolts that we now need to undo. So you have this little one here, put a T45 underneath, and then I believe it's a 22 on here, just so that you can obviously hold it in place while you do the T45. And if I can show you, a little bit hard to see, but there's another bolt right there at the bottom of the shock, so you just got to undo that one as well. There's then 3 underneath the bonnet, just under this tray, which just lifts up like so you can sort of see them right there. So you got 1, 2, and then 3. So obviously undo them, undo the ones underneath, pull the shock out, and then we'll swap the spring over. Okay, so with the top one undone, you then got to move on to the bottom one. There is one bolt right there where it's the nut, and that is a size 21, and then the one around the other side right here is size 24. So just obviously 19 on one side, 21 on one side, 24 on the other, and let's undo it. Okay, so I didn't actually film me taking off that bolt because oh my god, that was so hard to get off, but there's the nut. So we're now going to move on to these top 3 bolts up here, if you can see them. So one right there, one here, and then obviously one back here. Okay, so overall the strut wasn't actually too bad to get off, but now we have the quote-unquote fun bit. So we have a spring compressor here, which pretty much you just need to use this tool here, tighten it on the spring just like that to compress it so that it doesn't shoot off at you, and always obviously have the end facing away from you, just in case anything does go wrong. You don't want to take a spring to the face. So I'm just going to set you guys up on a tripod, and we're going to compress the spring, get the top cap off, get the new spring, put it on, and then obviously just sort of throw this side back on. Okay, so as you can see, we've finally gotten the top of the spring off. One thing that I did forget to mention, which, my bad, you need to tighten these on each side evenly, otherwise you're going to put unnecessary stress on the spring and then it will basically explode in your face, to put it in short term. So now, we obviously, in reverse order, slowly need to take these off, put the new spring on, slowly compress the new spring, put the top cap on, take these back off, and then we can put it back on the car. Okay, so as you can see, we have now got the new spring on, which looks pretty sick. It wasn't too bad to get on. To be honest, the longest part for me is having to use these spring compressors because I don't have an impact. So now what I'm going to do is just obviously take that and slap it straight back in there. Okay, so with the passenger side now lowered, let's move on to the driver's side. Okay, so as you can see, it is a different day. The bolt on the top of the strut was absolutely stuck on, so I had to go and borrow a nut gun. But as you can see, both the front lowering springs are on, so we're now going to move on to the back ones. Okay, so one thing that I did completely forget to do is measure the gap so that we can see how much the suspension actually drops by. So let's go ahead with the tape measure. So from the top of the rim, it's just shy of 11 centimeters. So after we've installed the lowering spring, we'll give it another measure and see what it is. Okay, so with that being said, I think it's time to whip this wheel off. So with the wheel off, I think it's time to go under the car and let's get the spring off. Okay, so now that we're under the car, as you can see, there is a bolt here and vice versa on the other side, there's the nut. You can either take it off that way, which I'm not going to be doing that way as it is ridiculously tight. There's a couple bolts at the front here. So you've got one there, and then one that's just right under here. So those are the three that I'm going to be taking off. So I'll set you up on a tripod and do a time lapse of undoing them. Okay, so now that we've got all three of the nuts off, as you can see, the bolts are obviously still on the car. You want to grab a jack and just put it underneath just to support it, because if you don't, obviously there's a lot of tension on the spring right there. So obviously if you just sort of undo them, it's going to absolutely just smash down. So I'm going to put you back on the tripod, put the jack under the car, and then let's get the spring off. Okay, so with all three of the bolts out, I've just moved you guys so you can have a bit of a better angle. As I slowly take the jack down, you should see that the lower arm should just come straight out, just like so. And now what I should be able to do just on this one is gently push this down, which should then give me enough room to get the spring out. So now with this arm down, let me just sort that out a little bit. So with this arm down, we can now press it down enough that there's enough leeway to actually get the entire spring out without having to take the bolt up the top there off. So I'm going to set you back up on the tripod just here, and then we'll get this spring out. Right, so just like that, the spring is out. As you can see, you have a rubber mount on top. There's also one on the bottom with a little pinhole, sort of like, I guess, a tab. So what we now need to do is take this piece off, take the top piece off, and just put them on a new spring, and then basically just repeat all the steps that we've just done and slide the new spring back in. Okay, so as you can see, with the spring like this, you have obviously the bottom cup on, and then the top cup is back on. So now all we have to do is simply slide it back into the car. Okay, so with all of the suspension components completely back on the car, it's time to get the wheel back on. Man, I wish that I could just clip my fingers for every single install, but with that being said, the wheel is back on, it's looking good. So now I'm going to obviously lower the car off of the jacks, let the suspension settle, and then we'll get a reading on the rear and on the front. Okay, so it's now the next day. I've allowed the springs to sort of settle overnight and I've took them on a quick drive. So obviously they will still lower a little bit more, but they are obviously lower than what they are. So now we've got the tape measure. So before, I believe the backs were 11 centimeters from the rim. They are now just under 10. They're about 9.5. So at the minute, we've reduced the rear by around 15 mil. So obviously they take about 1,000 miles to settle. So once they've settled, it will probably be another 5 to 10 mil. So they'll probably be dropped 20 to 25 mil. So let's take a look at the fronts. Okay, so as for the fronts, we'll obviously do the same measurement. These were 10 before. They are now sitting at just below 8.5. I'd probably say 8.25. So they've dropped by about 17.5 mil. And obviously after they settle a bit more, they probably would have dropped around 25. So overall, I think that's quite the improvement. So we're going to take the car out now and get some clips of it. So as you can see from the clips that we've just got, the springs look way better than OEM ones. They're probably going to drop around another 10 millimeters gradually over time, as they do still have to settle a little bit. Obviously this video was a little bit all over the place just because this was filmed over 3 days due to obviously weather and the fact that the front bolt on the passenger side was seized. So I needed to grab a nut gun to actually get it off. And obviously I didn't just have one on me. So I appreciate that the video was sort of not all smooth and in order as they normally are. But with that being said, the car looks way better, which is obviously a plus. So if you did enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.